Bible, but actually espoused a worldview that was very opposite of that. They were the biggest player in that massive, unjust feudal system that dominated Europe for centuries. But what's very interesting in terms of your question is, if you think today, what is the one community in the world that is unabashedly pro-Israel? It happens to be the new Christian right, the evangelicals.
Yes, very true.
And why? And I say, and I interact with these people constantly. I guide groups of them occasionally. I even teach them periodically. I happen to be personally a big fan of much of what they're doing. But I say, you know why these Christians like us? Because they're actually the first Christians who truly do take the Bible seriously and truly do try and live by the values that are within the text of the Bible.
That's very
Unlike
true.
the Christian world for 2,000 years, which more or less did not and did the exact opposite of it.
Right. Yeah, very good point. Now, today we have some serious issues with, you know, particularly, let's say, with the Arab nations, and a lot of people might think that, you know, this is a war over land, you know, territory, and so on. But you have leaders like I'm almost afraid to call him the president of Iran. I mean, that's the title that he seems to have somehow stolen or whatever. But Ahmadinejad, who says, you know, he wants to destroy Israel. And I think, if I understand correctly, Islam as well is based or comes from Judaism. So how do we get to such a terrible hatred, which seems to be on par with Hitler, also coming from such a seemingly far right or extreme Islamist perspective?
Right. Well, without going into the metaphysics of the conflict, and I even have a whole presentation called Ishmael and Yisrael. You know, the Arabs claim, and we hold that the Arabs are descended from Ishmael. That's the other person who has God's name in his name, Ishmael, God will hear, versus Yisrael, us.
Right. So
there's actually much written in rabbinic sources about this rivalry, which goes back to that original relationship of Abraham's two children, the half-brothers of Isaac and Ishmael. But without going into that, which we don't have time for and is very complicated, same thing with the Christians, the Islamic world. I mean, the good side of Islam and Christianity, and this is, I'm basically paraphrasing what the Rambam, Maimonides, said over 800 years ago, is that before they came into existence, it was us versus pagans. Now the whole world, Maimonides says, speaks about one God. And certainly from I would say from the macro view of the evolution of humanity's return to God, the creation of Christianity and Islam have been a giant leap forward. But the problem is now that these religions have often viewed themselves as in competition with us, because monotheistic faiths are essentially, you know, very what's the word? I'm spacing out now. They're not inclusive. They're exclusive.
Okay.
In the pagan world, the Jews said we're right and all pagan religions are wrong. Now we have three different monotheistic faiths that are basically saying no, we're right, no, we're right, no, we're right. The evangelical Christians have changed the theology and said, well, for us to get to Jesus, us to get to God, we do it through Jesus, but we're grafted onto the tree. That's what they say. But the original root is the Jewish people. You get to God through your Torah. We get to him through Jesus. Islam hasn't gone through any such revision. Okay. They're still locked into a very deep and a fundamental Islamic theology, which is, you know, the Jews got it wrong, the Christians got it wrong, Muhammad is the seal of the prophets, he's the last prophet, he got it right, and no one will come after him. That's a fundamental belief that all Muslims espouse. Therefore, from their perspective, the whole world is supposed to become what is called in Arabic, Dar al-Islam, Islamic. And not only that, they have this idea of jihad, which comes from the Quranic idea of jihad fi sabil Allah, striving in the path of God, which while it can mean internal struggle, is used throughout Islamic law always as an external struggle. That's an imperative. It's one of their, let's say, mitzvot, commandments, so to speak, to physically conquer the entire world and to make the whole world Islamic. Right. The way I always say it is that Islam, in its very theology, is not moderate. Right. It cannot tolerate the existence of other religions, including other monotheistic faiths, and it certainly cannot tolerate a Jewish state within the heart of the Islamic world. And therefore that smokescreen, if it's a Palestinian-Israel thing, is purely a smokescreen, and what really drives the conflict ultimately, and has always driven it, is the Islamic theology and its inability to live side by side with certainly any other people, and certainly a Jewish state in the heart of the Arab world.
Rabbi, that is an excellent explanation, and I want to thank you so much for joining us today. I also want to say that I love the background there. I mean, I'm sitting here in front of this, like, that channel logo. No offense to that channel. I love that channel. Okay, they're great. But it looks like you're sitting in front of the Western Wall, so I'm a little jealous right now. I don't know if that's a picture on the wall or what.
Jerusalem stone in the background in my house.
Okay. Well, listen, it looks great. And I thank you so much for joining us. And I would encourage people to go to aish.com and check out some of the lectures. There's a lot of great lectures, and you have a whole series of lectures. So I'm going to get up to speed on some more and hopefully have you back to talk about some more subjects. Rabbi Ken Shapiro, thanks so much for being with us today on the show.
You're welcome.
Okay, talk to you later.